Despite the cruel way my husband had abandoned me, I, Jennifer, continued to care for my ailing mother-in-law, who had once been abusive. One day, I came home earlier than usual and couldn't believe what I saw with my own eyes. I was moving around the small kitchen with a sense of urgency. My movements were swift and precise, but my mind was lost in thought. The worry etched on my face was a stark contrast to the lively atmosphere around me. In the corner of the living room, David sat on the old sofa, holding a beer and staring blankly at the television. David's relaxed posture was in sharp contrast to my obvious tension. The TV volume was low, with an US show playing on the screen, but he seemed more interested in his beer than the story. "Could you help me out a bit?" I asked him while drying my hands with a kitchen towel, trying to keep my voice calm. David shrugged without taking his eyes off the screen. "Jennifer, you don't do my job as a driver, so why should I do your job? Besides, I'm the one bringing money into this house. And don't start complaining about my mother. You know what she's like. She's sick, for heaven's sake. You know how much she suffers from cancer. Now she can barely walk without a cane. She needs help." David's voice carried a mix of weariness and resentment, referring to his mother, Barbara, who had become a bitter presence in the house since her health deteriorated. I sighed and turned toward David. "I understand, David. I really do. I just wish you'd be a little more cooperative. I don't complain about taking care of your mother, but she's so hard on me, and you don't help at all. It feels like it all falls on me." My voice trembled with frustration, a mix of exhaustion and disappointment. "I know you work outside, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't help around the house, even with your own mother," I said. David sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "I'm always working, Jennifer. When I come home, I'm exhausted. And now, with all this drama. You used to be so much more fun. Now, everything seems to be a problem." David's words struck me deeply. "Fun? David, I'm working all day inside the house. I don't get a moment to rest. I'm trying to manage everything, the house, your mother, all of it. And you don't even seem to notice." Tears began to well up in my eyes, but I held them back. I feel so alone. I lost my parents when I was young, thinking we'd support each other. But now, here I am, feeling ignored by my husband and mistreated by my mother-in-law. David looked at me, his eyes reflecting a mix of frustration and despair. "Jennifer, I'm tired. Tired from work, tired of the drama, tired of it all. I don't even know what you want from me anymore." His voice sounded defeated, as if he had given up to an unhappy fate. I looked at him, my gaze mixed with sadness and resolve. "What I need is a partner, David. Someone who's truly by my side, not just physically, but from the heart. Someone who sees me, who listens to my story. I feel so lost, so incredibly alone. I just wanted you to see me, to really see me." I spoke with a strength I rarely showed, my words filled with despair over my emotions and the changes I faced. The conversation hung in the air, unresolved emotions and unspoken thoughts lingering between us. I balanced on trembling hands, trying to juggle exhaustion and obligation. The simple task of setting the table had become a daily challenge in front of Barbara's critical eyes. When a plate fell, the sound of shattering porcelain broke the household's usual quiet. "Oh, Jennifer. I can't believe you would do such a thing. I'm fed up with your clumsiness and lack of attention. Look at what you've done. You've broken my favorite plate this time." Barbara stared at the shards on the floor with a disapproving expression. I crouched down to clean up the mess, answering with a trembling voice. "I'm truly sorry, Barbara. I'm really exhausted. Getting up so early, going to bed so late, managing the house, your needs, it's all a bit too much for me." "Tired? You should see what real exhaustion looks like. My son, your husband, works all day trying to earn money. Meanwhile, you're here, breaking dishes and complaining. Is that what you call being tired? It's not just physical tiredness, Barbara. It's emotional too. I feel so alone here. David is always working, and even when he's home, he barely speaks. I thought I'd find family here, but instead, I found loneliness and constant criticism. I tried to express my feelings, hoping for some understanding. Barbara remained unmoved, her response cold. Lonely? You don't know what real loneliness is. I'm sick with cancer. I can barely walk without this cane. I rely on you for almost everything. That's what loneliness and suffering really are. You have a home and a hard-working husband. And yet, you only complain. I answered, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness welling up inside me. I know you're going through a tough time, Barbara. And I don't want to minimize that. I really do care about you, and I'm trying to help in every way I can. But that doesn't mean my feelings and struggles aren't important too. I just wanted a little understanding, a little bit of kindness. Barbara looked at me, her face showing no emotion, just an indifferent expression. Kindness? Understanding? You're living in a fantasy world, Jennifer. Life is tough. The sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be. Instead of always wanting more, you should be grateful for what you have. I picked up the last piece of the broken plate, feeling a swirl of sadness and resignation in my heart. I was focusing on cleaning the house when the sharp sound of the phone interrupted me. Seeing Lily's name on the screen, I felt a mix of surprise and worry. I knew she rarely called unless it was something important. Hello, Lily. Is everything okay? It's unusual for you to call. Did something happen? My voice betrayed the concern and curiosity I felt. On the other end, Lily's voice was tense. Jennifer, I'm sorry for calling out of the blue. But I really need to talk to you urgently. It's a delicate matter, and I can't discuss it over the phone. Can you come over? I hesitated for a moment, still holding the broom in my hand. Lily, I hardly ever leave the house. I'm taking care of Barbara, and she needs me almost constantly. I can't just leave her alone. Lily's voice became more urgent. Please, Jennifer. It's really serious. I don't want to handle this alone. I need to talk to you. Is there any way you can come, maybe when she's sleeping? It's really important. I could sense the urgency in Lily's voice, and despite my hesitation, I reluctantly agreed. All right, Lily. I'll find a time to come over. But what's going on? I'm starting to feel a little scared. She wouldn't tell me over the phone. She just said it was best to talk in person and urged me to come as soon as possible. And then, just like that, she hung up, leaving me with a knot in my stomach and a whirlwind of thoughts. I set the broom aside and made my way to the living room, where Barbara was deeply engrossed in her book. Barbara, I need to step out for a bit. There's something I forgot to get at the market. If you need anything, just call me. I'll be back soon, I said, trying to sound casual, though my mind was still reeling from the phone call. Without lifting her eyes from her magazine, Barbara responded with that dismissive tone I had grown so accustomed to. You forgot, did you? Always forgetting something. How can you be so disorganized? My son, David, deserves better than a woman like you. You probably don't even remember what you need to buy. Go on, but don't be gone too long. Her words stung, as they always did, a sharp reminder of how little she thought of me. But I pushed those feelings down, grabbed my bag, and quickly left, feeling a strange mix of frustration and relief at being able to leave the house, even if only for a short while. As I walked down the quiet street, my mind raced with all sorts of thoughts about what Lily might want to talk about. It had to be something serious if she couldn't mention it over the phone. My heart was pounding in my chest, a steady drumbeat of anxiety and anticipation. When I finally arrived at Lily's house, the door opened almost immediately. There she stood, her face etched with worry and concern. Her hug was longer and tighter than usual, as if she was trying to convey some comfort that words could not express. Without a word, she led me into the kitchen. Jennifer, please sit down. I'm going to make some coffee. There's something we need to talk about, but I don't even know where to begin, Lily said, her voice trembling. I could hear the weight of whatever she was about to tell me in her tone. I sat down at the kitchen table, feeling my heart race even faster, the suspense building with each passing second. Lily, please, I begged, my voice barely a whisper. What's going on? You're making me so anxious. What do you want to tell me? As she poured the coffee, I could see Lily's hands shaking slightly, her nerves betraying her. Jennifer, she began, her voice wavering, first and foremost, I want you to know I have no intention of interfering in your life. But, I need you to promise you won't be angry with me. No matter what, I'm on your side. I gripped my coffee cup tightly, feeling the warmth against my palms, and nodded. Lily, please, I urged, my heart pounding in my chest. Just tell me. I'd rather have a painful truth than a comforting lie. What did you see? What's happening? Lily took a deep breath, as if searching for the courage to reveal what she'd witnessed. You told me David started working as a night driver, right? Well, I didn't want to believe the rumors. I always thought people loved to make up stories. But last night, I saw something with my own eyes. Something I couldn't keep to myself. It's been eating away at me. A cold chill ran through my entire body, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. What did you see, Lily? What happened with David? I pressed, bracing myself for her response. She continued, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. I was on my way to a cousin's dinner party. As I was walking, I noticed a familiar car pass by. I thought it was David's car, and maybe you were inside, so I walked over to say hello. But when I looked in, Jennifer, it was David. And he was kissing another woman. A blonde. I was so shocked I just ran away from there. My hands trembled as I held onto my coffee cup, the words sinking in like a stone. It felt as if the ground had vanished beneath my feet, leaving me suspended in a void. Lily's words echoed in my mind, each one striking my heart like a hammer blow. Silent tears rolled down my cheeks, each one carrying the sting of an unexpected betrayal. I looked at Lily with red, swollen eyes, and I whispered, I knew it, Lily. I could feel that something was off. David's always been such a reserved man, but lately, he's changed. He hardly talks to me anymore. I feel like nothing more than a servant in that house, like I'm just there to keep things running and nothing more. My voice trembled, a fragile mix of sadness and acceptance. Lily reached out and took my hand, her eyes full of understanding. I'm so sorry, Jennifer, she said, squeezing my hand gently. No one should ever have to go through this. It's just so unfair. I choked back a sob and continued, and now I have to deal with this humiliation. If the rumors have already reached your ears, and he's out there doing this in front of everyone. God, how many people know? How could I be the last to find out? It's just so humiliating. I covered my face with my hands, my words breaking apart with my cries. I gave up my studies for him. I dedicated my life to this man. And now I'm just taking care of his mother, who barely acknowledges anything I do, treating me so poorly. I feel so alone, Lily. You're my only friend. I have no family. No one else. Moved by a wave of empathy, Lily spoke with strength in her voice. Jennifer, you are not alone, Lily told me gently. She admitted she didn't have much to offer and that her house was already small and full, but she assured me that she was here for me no matter what. She said she'd be by my side, whatever I needed. And then she reminded me, you're stronger than you think. We embraced each other, holding on like that hug was both a shelter and a support, grounding us in that moment. I wept, my body trembling with each sob, and Lily held me, providing a quiet comfort that only unwavering friendship could give. Lily then told me, you're one of the strongest, kindest women I know, Jennifer. You don't deserve to be treated like this. Don't let him humiliate you in that way. You'll find your way through this. I believe in you. Our conversation continued, and Lily's words were a mix of comfort and strength, wrapping around me like a warm blanket on a cold night. Still shaken, I eventually stepped back into my house, the darkness mirroring the emptiness I felt inside. I tilted my head back, closing my eyes, trying to summon some inner strength. In my mind, a storm of thoughts swirled, forming a fierce internal dialogue. David, how could you do this to me? After everything. I gave up my dreams for you, took care of your mother, endured her harsh words. And now, what do I have left? I muttered to myself, my voice a faint, trembling whisper that seemed to dissolve into the empty room. As I was lost in my thoughts, I heard the sound of the door opening, signaling David's arrival. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. With slow, deliberate steps, I turned to face him. My gaze was a mix of pain, anger, and despair. We need to talk, David, I began, my voice shaking but filled with a newfound resolve. Let's talk about us, about what's happening between us, I insisted, my voice trembling with emotion. David was clearly exhausted and frustrated by the prospect of another argument. He sighed heavily and said, Jennifer, I really don't have the energy for this right now. I've been working all night. Can't I just come home and enjoy a bit of peace? But I was determined. No, David. You will listen to me. Enough is enough. I know about the other woman. Your nighttime work is a lie. My voice grew stronger as I spoke, the words pouring out from a place of deep pain and betrayal. At that moment, Barbara, drawn by the rising voices, entered the room. What's going on here? Jennifer, why are you yelling at my son? You should show more respect, she said, her tone sharp. Despite the tears welling in my eyes, the inner fire within me burned fiercely. Respect, Barbara? I've given everything for this family. I took care of you and gave up my dreams, all for David. And now he has betrayed me with another woman. Is that respect? David, now cornered and clearly losing control of the situation, tried to deflect. Who put these ideas in your head, Jennifer? You're being manipulated by lies. I answered with a steely gaze and a voice that brooked no argument. It's not lies, David. I know everything. I don't need proof. I felt it. Every cold glance, every touch that was no longer there. You don't love me anymore, do you? David finally broke down under the pressure of the exposed truth, his emotions erupting. Yes, Jennifer, he confessed, his voice trembling with a mix of defiance and desperation. I'm with someone else. I love her. You're a good woman, but I can't keep pretending that something that's gone is still here. After David's confession, the room was enveloped in a shocking silence. I felt a wave of emotions crashing over me, sadness, relief, anger, and a painful acceptance. Barbara, in stunned silence, stared at her son, unable to speak. David, with rough and determined movements, began stuffing his belongings into an old, large suitcase. Each item of clothing was thrown in as if it were a fragment of the life he was eager to leave behind. I can't stand this situation any longer, he muttered, folding his shirt with a mix of anger and relief. I'm in love, Jennifer. I won't let this new love be denied because of a marriage that's already ended. I watched him, struggling to process the shock of his earlier words, my expression a mix of disbelief and pain. Maybe you don't love me anymore, David, I said, my voice trembling but firm. But what about your mother? Are you really going to abandon her in such a crucial time? She's sick, David. Can you really be so heartless? David paused for a moment, looking at me with a cold, distant gaze. You know what? You two are perfect for each other. You have no home, no family. And my mother is a bad person. I don't care anymore. The house is yours. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I responded with a steady tone, despite the tremor in my voice. I couldn't believe how he spoke about his own mother. She's sick, David, I told him, my voice breaking with the weight of my worry. She needs help. She needs care. You know she can't survive without assistance, right? She has limitations. She needs someone to cook for her and take her to the hospital. I thought about all the years I'd wasted as his wife, all the time I'd spent in that role. But I wasn't about to waste another minute taking care of his mother. That's your responsibility, I said. Besides, Barbara doesn't like me. She's always insulting me. Why should I be the one to care for her now? David slammed the suitcase shut, his eyes cold and empty as he looked at me. That's no longer my problem, Jennifer, he said, his voice devoid of emotion. I have a right to live my own life. I'm fed up with all these obligations, this burden. Leave me alone. He grabbed his suitcase and walked out of the room, his footsteps echoing through the quiet house. I stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling a swirl of complex emotions. Tears began to trail down my cheeks as I faced the harsh reality of the situation. When morning came, I woke with a heart full of uncertainty, but I was determined to face whatever lay ahead. I started my morning ritual of making coffee, each movement heavy with the weight of unexpected emotions. Barbara entered the kitchen. Her usual stern demeanor had shifted to a visible sadness. Her normally sharp eyes revealed a vulnerability I hadn't imagined before. I never thought my son would abandon his own mother, Barbara murmured, her voice a whisper of disbelief and pain. Despite the years of antagonism, I couldn't help but feel a flicker of sympathy for the woman before me. I took a coffee cup and offered it to Barbara. I am truly sorry for all of this, I said, my voice carrying an earnestness that took Barbara by surprise. It's all right, Jennifer, Barbara replied. We both know you have nowhere else to go. You have no job experience, and no family. Stay here. Continue with your work and take care of the house. I have no intention of leaving you out on the streets. But don't delude yourself. This is just a practical necessity. The offer was far from ideal, but it was an unexpected relief for me. I knew Barbara's words were true. My life had been built around my marriage to David, and now I felt adrift without direction. All right, Barbara. I'll stay, I said with a firm voice, though my mind was already planning for the future. But this is only temporary. I'll look for a job. I will become independent. I have no intention of relying on you forever. Barbara merely nodded and turned her attention back to her coffee, as if the issue had been resolved. I knew the path ahead would be difficult and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own destiny. That night, as I focused on preparing dinner, the kitchen was filled with a palpable tension and anticipation. Barbara sat at the table, watching my every move with a critical eye. The silence was broken by Barbara's harsh voice. Since David no longer contributes financially to this household, and all we have left is my pension, you'll need to start thinking about how you can contribute. I cannot and will not cover the cost of your meals. I'm already providing lodging, electricity, and water. Meals are a luxury I can no longer afford. I was taken aback by the coldness in Barbara's words, but recognized the harsh reality of the situation. Despite my trembling voice, I answered with determination. Understood, Barbara. I will find a way to contribute. After dinner, I barely touched my meal. My appetite had been overwhelmed by the anxiety and sadness that were draining me. I retreated to my room. It felt like the only sanctuary I had left. Alone in that room, facing my own thoughts, I knelt beside my bed. Tears soaked the sheets as I clasped my hands and began to pray with a voice choked with emotion. Dear God, I feel so lost and alone. I need your help and light. Please guide me through this darkness. Give me the strength to find my way. I'm trying to be strong, but it's so hard. I feel so sad and abandoned. Help me find a way out and build a new life. I believe in you, but I'm scared. Please don't leave me alone on this journey. My prayer was a mix of pleading and hope. It was a cry for help in a moment of deep vulnerability. In that dark room, amidst the whirlpool of emotions that enveloped me, I sought solace in my faith. It was like a beacon. A few days after the night of turmoil and farewell, I met Lily at a small cafe in the neighborhood. We sat at a secluded table, discussing the recent events of my life. Lily, with a sympathetic gaze, gently touched my arm. "I found something for you, Jennifer." I spoke with the manager at the restaurant where I work. "He's agreed to give you a chance as a kitchen assistant." "It's not much, but it's a start," she said, trying to encourage me. My eyes brightened with gratitude and hope as I responded. "Lily, this means so much to me. In my current situation, anything helps. I'm tired of being thrown crumbs for my daily bread. I need to start saving money to leave that house." Lily understood the urgency of the situation and nodded. "That's right, Jennifer. It's important for you to find your own path now. Getting away from David and Barbara, living somewhere else, will be good for you." I absent-mindedly fiddled with my coffee cup, voicing my inner doubts. "I know I need to leave, but I feel so torn. Barbara was harsh with me, but especially now that David has abandoned her, the thought of leaving her alone troubles me. She's sick, Lily. Even though she wasn't kind to me, could I really turn my back on someone in such a situation?" Lily answered with a thoughtful expression. "I understand your dilemma, Jennifer. I admire your compassion, but you also need to think about yourself. You've sacrificed so much for that family. And look where it's led you. It's time to think about your future and find your own path. You have talent, Jennifer. I'm confident you'll do well at the restaurant. This could be the start of a new career for you. And who knows, you might meet someone who truly values you and treats you the way you deserve." Lily's words brought me a sense of comfort and hope. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but I also knew I wouldn't be alone. With Lily's support and the prospect of a new job, I began to see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. A sign that I might become the protagonist of my own future. After a while, feeling both tired and accomplished, I returned from my new job. My routine now included preparing Barbara's dinner before heading to the restaurant. When I got home, out of concern and obligation, I decided to check if Barbara had eaten. As I quietly climbed the stairs and approached her room, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. The sight that unfolded before me was unexpected and shocking. Barbara was intently organizing a large amount of cash under her mattress. I stood frozen, overwhelmed by a storm of emotions as I observed. In my inner dialogue, I thought, I can't believe it. To think Barbara was hiding this much wealth. David was working as a driver, and we were living such a restricted life. She had all this money. I just can't believe it. The discovery made me feel a wave of nausea, and I ended up vomiting everything I had eaten. Barbara, noticing my presence, suddenly spun around and started shouting. "What are you doing? Sticking your nose into my life. I told you never to come into this room. I'll throw you out of this house. You're just like my son, an annoying burden." Still reeling from the shock, I tried to explain. "Barbara, I didn't mean to intrude. I just came to check if you had eaten dinner. But how can you live like this with so much money? Why did you make David and me suffer so much? That's none of your business. My money is mine to do as I please. I don't owe you any explanation. Get out of my room right now and clean up that mess. You're not even pregnant, and you're acting so ill. You're just a weak woman." I was still trying to process Barbara's revelations and harsh words, feeling utterly lost. It was as if the home I had known was crumbling before my eyes. Barbara's truth and her handling of her wealth revealed layers of malice and manipulation that I had never fully grasped before. I felt my legs barely holding up my weight. What had begun as a night of accomplishment and independence had turned into a labyrinth of disillusionment and unanswered questions. I knew I had to make a decision about my future, but the revelation of living under such a massive lie left me feeling utterly lost. Even the food I had been eating, this woman had thrown it in my face. It's an inhuman level of cruelty. As Barbara continued to scream, her face flushed red, but in an instant, all her anger turned to fear and confusion. She staggered backward, her eyes losing focus. Then, with a gasp that seemed to suck the air out of the room, Barbara collapsed onto the floor. Her body suddenly lost all strength. For a moment, I forgot all the tension and resentment, and in a panic, I rushed to Barbara's side. Realizing the gravity of what had happened, I quickly moved into action. I crouched beside Barbara, checking for signs of life, and, grasping the seriousness of the situation, I shakily grabbed my phone. "Please, I need an ambulance, quickly. My mother-in-law, she has cancer, she's undergoing chemotherapy, and now she's collapsed. I'm scared. We need help right away. I can't take responsibility if something bad happens to her. Please, come quickly. It might be a heart attack. She's been so anxious." My voice on the phone was broken and frantic, filled with panic and the urgency of the situation. At the hospital, while Barbara slept due to medication, I felt a mix of worry and guilt. A doctor approached with a concerned look. "Jennifer, Barbara had a significant peak in her severe hypertension. The combination of stress and her weakened state from chemotherapy has put her health at considerable risk. Her heart is weakened, and any additional stress is extremely dangerous. She needs constant care and a calm environment for recovery." As I watched Barbara sleeping, I felt a tide of emotions. We had our differences, but I never wished for this to happen. I'll take care of her. I can't leave her alone in such a fragile state. Her son abandoned her. After briefly hesitating, I decided to use the presence of the doctor to address my concerns. "Doctor, I have a personal question. It's not about Barbara. Since my husband left me a few months ago, my menstrual cycle has changed. I thought it was just stress, but recently I've been feeling extremely nauseous. Is it possible that I'm pregnant? Is there a way to do a pregnancy test here?" The doctor noticed the anxiety in my voice and responded with compassion. "Of course, Jennifer. We're in the emergency department, but I'll take you to a room where you can have a pregnancy test done. Just try to stay calm." As I followed the doctor, I felt a mix of fear and hope swirling inside me. The thought of possibly being pregnant amid the emotional turmoil was overwhelming. I started to think about what pregnancy might mean for an already turbulent future. Returning to Barbara's room, my eyes were still red and swollen from tears. The intensity of my emotions was almost suffocating. Now, Barbara was awake, looking at me with a blend of confusion and exhaustion. "How are you feeling, Barbara?" I asked gently, moving closer to the bed. "The doctor talked to me while you were sleeping," I continued, trying to steady my voice. "He said that your heart has become more vulnerable due to the chemotherapy. We need to avoid peaks in your blood pressure. It could be very dangerous for your health." Despite all the difficulties between us, I spoke with sincerity, reflecting genuine concern. "I promise, Barbara. I won't tell anyone about the money you have, and I don't want any of it. I can help with taking care of you, but if you still want me to leave, I'll need a bit more time to find a place to stay." Barbara interrupted me. For the first time in the years we've lived together, her voice carried an unexpected kindness. "Are you pregnant, dear? What did the test results show?" Barbara asked, her face clearly showing concern. "I woke up during the conversation with the doctor, and I heard you suspecting that you might be pregnant with my son's child." I looked at Barbara, my eyes brimming with tears, my face showing a raw vulnerability. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words, but all that came out was a flood of raw, honest emotion. "I never imagined I'd be in a situation like this," I began, my voice trembling. "I never planned to get pregnant on my own. To be pregnant with the child of a man who chose someone else over me." I paused, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. This baby is innocent. Completely pure in all this. I placed my hand on my belly, a protective and loving gesture. "I want to give this child a life I've never experienced, a life filled with love, compassion, and security. But for that, I need a place to stay. At least for now, I need a home." Tears were now streaming freely down my face, but I continued. My voice grew stronger with each word, infused with a growing conviction. Please, Barbara. Don't kick me out of the house. I'm lost, scared, and alone. But I've decided to be strong for this baby. I have no place to go. And the thought of being on the streets while pregnant is more terrifying than anything I've ever faced. I stared directly into Barbara's eyes, my vulnerability turning into a quiet yet powerful plea. I know our relationship isn't perfect. But I'm asking for compassion and humanity. I'm asking for a chance for me and my child. I believe God is with me. I trust that somehow, God will help me weather this storm. And I will keep working. I'm only asking for something temporary. I looked at Barbara, searching for signs of compassion and understanding. The situation was complex, filled with emotions and uncertainty. Barbara, with tears tracing the lines of her time-worn face, took my hand with an unexpected kindness. Jennifer, I know you see me as a bitter and cruel person. It's understandable that you think that way, Barbara began, her voice trembling but clear. But the truth is, I haven't always been this way. My life has been a series of storms and pain. She took a deep breath, trying to gather the strength to continue. All of this bitterness, this loneliness, started with my father. He was a wealthy man. But he was cruel and merciless. From a young age, I suffered under his hand. He would insult me, make me feel small and insignificant. And when he died, leaving me all his wealth, I vowed never to touch that money. It was tainted, it only brought back painful memories. Barbara paused, swallowing a lump in her throat. And with my son David, I saw the same shadow of my father in him. He was becoming more like my father every day. The truth is, I was trapped in my own bitterness, and I contributed to it. I repeated my father's mistakes. Unknowingly, I helped shape David into the man he is today. She looked at me with deep regret in her eyes. And the money you saw, the money I had hidden, was meant to pay David's debts. He left me with a mountain of problems. I was trying to solve everything without anyone knowing. At least to preserve the dignity that was left. Barbara continued with a sincerity that seemed to rise from a long-forgotten place in her heart. You know, Jennifer, during all these years we lived together, I was blinded by my own pain and resentment. But now I see. You were always here for me. When no one else was around, you were by my side. And I want to apologize for what I didn't realize until now. She sighed and struggled to find the right words. Please don't take this as an insult. But, in my best years, when bitterness hadn't yet consumed me, I see myself in you. You have the strength and resilience that I had, or at least thought I had. Barbara looked down, a vulnerable expression on her aged face. When it came to my cancer treatment, I was just going through the motions, not believing in a real recovery. Inside, I felt like I was already dead. But now, with this news of becoming a grandmother, something inside me has awakened. Something I thought was lost forever. Tears of long-suppressed emotions began to form in her eyes. Having a grandchild was always my dream. A dream I pleaded with David to fulfill. But he was never there. He never understood. With a trembling voice but filled with hope, Barbara looked directly at me. It might be too late to ask, but I want to seek your forgiveness, Jennifer. For all the abuse, for all the pain I caused. Even when my son turned his back and disappeared, you took care of me like a mother. Even when I didn't deserve it, you were here. Barbara gripped my hand more tightly, as if clinging to a last hope. I want to help you, Jennifer. As long as I have life left, I want to help you care for that child. I promise to take care of myself and strive to become a better person. So one day, you might have someone you can call family. Barbara let her tears flow freely. This is a promise to you, to your baby, and to myself. A promise of a new life, a new beginning. Even if it's late, perhaps through this child, I might finally find some redemption and meaning. I looked at Barbara, my face still wet with tears, and tried to meet her gaze. I had no idea you had been through so much, Barbara, I said, my voice choked with emotion. And I don't have the right to judge. In the end, only God has that right. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside me. My mother always taught me the importance of love, about letting love flow freely. And that's what I will do now. I will accept your forgiveness, Barbara. And I promise to teach my baby to love his grandmother twice as much. Including my mother in heaven. You'll be her representative on earth. And for that, you need to take care of yourself. I wiped my face with my hand, drying my tears. I needed to hear your words, Barbara. Truly, the humiliation I suffered at your hands has deeply hurt me. But I choose to forgive. I choose to release that love and forgiveness. Because that's what my mother would do. That's what she taught me. I managed a sad but sincere smile. Life is too short to hold on to grudges, Barbara. And now, as I wait for the baby to arrive, I want him to grow up in an environment filled with love and forgiveness. I want him to understand the value of family, even if it's built in unexpected ways. Sometime later, after the baby was born, I was holding little James in my arms, nursing him gently, when I noticed Barbara approaching. She was holding a folder filled with documents, her expression serious, but with a softness I seldom saw. Barbara, you look worried. Is everything okay? I asked, noticing the thoughtful look on her face. Barbara sighed deeply and sat down beside me. Jennifer, there's something important we need to discuss about the future, about us, about James, Barbara began, opening her folder. I don't understand, Barbara. What are you trying to say? I asked, my curiosity piqued. Barbara glanced at little James, then back at me. You know my health has improved and the cancer is almost in remission. But the truth is, no one knows how much time we really have left. And, well, I'm getting old. There are things I need to sort out. I listened carefully, holding James a little closer. Barbara's voice faltered with emotion as she continued. Recently, I spoke with my lawyer. I've decided to transfer all my assets, my house, my bank accounts, everything, into your and James's names. I want to ensure that he has a secure future, free from the struggles you've faced. I was shocked and tried to interrupt, but, Barbara, this is too much. I can't accept this. It's your estate. You've already helped us so much. Barbara took my hand firmly and looked me directly in the eyes. Jennifer, it's already decided. This is my will. I want to do this for James, for you. You've become like a daughter to me. No matter what happens to me, I want to make sure you two are safe and happy. I felt a wave of emotion wash over me, and tears began to trail down my face. Barbara, I don't know what to say. This is beyond generous. It's overwhelming. But why? Why are you doing this for us? Barbara gave a gentle, meaningful smile. Because you've shown me what true love and real compassion are. When no one else was around, you took care of me. And James, he's my grandchild, my own blood. It's my duty to make sure he can live a peaceful life. And I've thought a lot about David too. He abandoned me when I needed him most. He chose a path that took him completely away from me, leaving behind a void and pain I never imagined. She paused, taking a deep breath, as if gathering strength to continue. So, I've decided to leave nothing to him, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Not a single piece of my property or belongings. After David abandoned me and chose a life devoid of respect and compassion, I refused to let him benefit from my estate. He has become a stranger to me, indifferent to the family we built together. I cannot allow my inheritance to go to someone who has shown such ingratitude and contempt. Barbara looked at me with a resolute expression. I want my estate to be used for good, to truly help those who care, who have love in their hearts. You and James represent hope for a better future. Leaving everything I have to both of you is a carefully considered final decision. I don't want David, that ungrateful vulture of a son, to have anything to do with this. I want my grandson to have a bright future. I looked at Barbara with deep gratitude, holding James close. I promise, Barbara. I will cherish everything. I will teach James about life, kindness, and the value of money. I will make sure he learns to show proper respect and humility. In the years that followed, James and I lived a life full of happiness. Under Barbara's love and care, James grew up strong, happy, and deeply attached to his grandmother. Barbara had defied all odds and overcome cancer. I managed the money wisely and decided to open my own restaurant, a dream I had discovered I possessed. Fortunately, I was able to hire my loyal friend Lily, strengthening their long-standing friendship. On the day of the restaurant's opening, the atmosphere was filled with joy and celebration. Now 4 years old, James played happily on Barbara's lap, radiating joy. Jennifer greeted guests with warm smiles and a caring demeanor, proud of what she had built. Then, amidst the celebration, a face from the past appeared. David, her ex-husband, had suddenly shown up. With a drink in hand, a haughty expression on his face, and dirty clothes, David, clearly drunk, began to speak loudly, drawing the attention of the attendees. I heard the rumors, Jennifer, he shouted, his voice thick with anger. So, you're the one who used Mom's money to open this restaurant. This is all mine. That money was Mom's, and I want my share. Do you think you have the right to exclude me? I was taken aback and unsettled by David's unexpected appearance, but I stood my ground. David, go home. You're no longer a part of our lives. Everything here was built with a lot of hard work and love. You chose to walk away from it. David grew increasingly agitated and began insulting me. And that child, is he mine or someone else's? You've always been a loose woman. Before he could finish his rant, Barbara stepped between David and me, her posture resolute and her gaze sharp. You are my greatest disappointment, David, she said with a voice full of contempt and determination. Not just as a son, but as a person. You lost an incredibly kind woman and chose a path that clearly brought nothing good to your life. Barbara continued with unwavering resolve. Nothing of mine belongs to you, David. Everything is in Jennifer's name. Not a single cent will go to you. Either leave through the hole you came in or I'll call the security. Clearly shaken by my mother's stern words, David hesitated for a moment, muttering unintelligible words before he left. Though still somewhat rattled, I found courage in Barbara's firm defense and refocused on the guests, determined to keep the celebration from being disrupted. After the confrontational episode with David at the restaurant opening, he never reappeared in our lives. That moment marked the final closure of a painful chapter in our lives, allowing us to focus on our love and care for each other. In the years that followed, I dedicated myself entirely to taking care of Barbara, who, despite her frail health, continued to be a symbol of strength and inspiration until her last days. Inspired by the stories of strength, determination, and compassion from his mother and grandmother, James channeled his experiences and lessons into writing, becoming a talented and sensitive author. His first book, a tribute to the two most influential women in his life, achieved success with both critics and the public, highlighting the beauty and complexity of relationships and the transformative power of unconditional love. As I read every word James wrote, I felt a blend of pride and deep emotion. The battles and victories of my life, and Barbara's strength and wisdom, had become immortalized within the pages penned by my son. In a moment of thoughtful affection, I told James, my dear child, I can't express in words how proud I am of you. You have become an incredibly wonderful person. A person filled with kindness, intelligence, and compassion. You have captured the essence of the life we lived, the struggles we faced, and the love that bound us together. Without a doubt, you are the greatest gift life has given me.
If you enjoyed this story, please hit like and subscribe to our channel. Your support encourages us to keep sharing heartfelt stories almost every day. Don't miss the next wonderful story that will soon appear on your screen. We truly value your support. See you again soon.